Yes, you read the title right. This is a refresher guide to Crota's End in 2023. At the time I'm recording this video, all speculation is leading us to believe that Crota's End will be the returning raid. And if that is the case, for most of us Destiny veterans out there, it has been so long that we've probably forgotten how the mechanics work currently in Crota's End. And for all those new players out there that have never played this video is going to be especially helpful to you because I logged in with a team of 6 and we jumped into Crota's End and beat it several times in an effort to refresh our own memories on how this raid functions. And to be clear, if it does come back in Season 22, as we're predicting right now, more than likely almost all the visuals will be the same, most of the mechanics will be the same. Usually they just add an extra layer of mechanics to these raids, so I genuinely believe this refresher guide is going to be really helpful to 99% of Guardians out there that want to do the raid and beat it within the first 48 hours. On top of that, if you're not really interested, this is some good nostalgia. First things first, you load into the raid from the moon. After loading in, you just run down a hill and you stand on a plate. Now this activates the first mechanic in this raid where standing on a plate for an extended period of time begins to build a bridge. So bringing this to the modern era like Destiny 2, this mechanic functions multiple times throughout this raid, so keep that in mind that stationary supers like Bubble or Well will be extremely advantageous, especially in a Destiny 2 Crota's End setting. After you've activated the bridge in its entirety, you can then go across, you drop down into the abyss, and then you begin to traverse through this extremely dark area. Your first goal here, of course, is to stay alive. If you die, it's going to be a big setback for your team. A lot of your teammates might have to decide whether or not they want to stay back and revive you or push forward, because what happens is there's actually a timer with the lanterns. You're going to activate these lanterns by touching them, and in doing so, you're going to lose your Weight of Darkness debuff. This debuff in the bottom left corner of your screen stacks up to 10 times, and when it hits times 10, you can no longer sprint. And when it hits times 1, you can no longer double jump. So it's basically a built-in mechanic that immobilizes you as you traverse through this, while there's just hordes and hordes of thralls, cursed thralls, knights, and later on ogres and wizards shooting at you. Now we have no clue exactly how Bungie is going to refresh this encounter if they do bring this back, but they could easily make the traversal area different. You take a left when you normally take a right. They could add an extra layer of mechanics, like for example, maybe you can't leave any of your teammates behind. In doing so, perhaps you get a Weight of Darkness increased multiplier. That would be pretty crazy. There's a lot of different stuff that Bungie could add to this encounter, so I would recommend that you as a team work together to both push through at a moderate pace while clearing all of the ads. Try not to leave your teammates behind too much, because you're definitely going to need them all when you do get to the end and the final platform in this area, because after you get to the very end, there will be a new platform to stand on. Standing on it, of course, builds the bridge like we saw in the opening area, and while you stand on this to build the bridge, that's when the real Hive assault comes after you. You're going to have knights, ogres, wizards, all types of things coming after you. And in the D2 setting, I can only imagine there'll probably be Lucent Hive, so I would prepare for at least 1 or 2 of them to come after you while you're building this bridge. That alone would add a significant amount of difficulty to trying to build this bridge. Bubbles and wells, like I mentioned previously, will be your best friend for trying to complete this encounter. Add clear weapons like Forbearance, machine guns, Witherhoard will all be excellent options as well. And just to clarify, there is actually a skip that you can do currently in Destiny 1. However, I chose not to do that because I imagine Bungie would fix that. And on top of that, there is a cheese you can do at the end here where you can stand on top of this pillar. I also chose not to do that because it's my hope that if Bungie does reissue this raid, they would have fixed those issues. But you can see in the gameplay behind me where the cheese spot is. So after you've made your way through all of the lanterns, removing your Weight of Darkness as a team, slowly pushing to the end, you get to the last platform, you build it, you clear all of the ads, the bridge is built, you then run across. There's an ogre right on the other side, so be careful of them. After you go through that area, you jump into this bright white light, and then you end up in the bridge encounter. This encounter has 1 person at minimum standing on the middle plate building the bridge, while 2 others are on the opposing totems. The totems will be on the left and the right of that main plate, and then what you need to do is have the other 3 guardians that are in your fire team push forward and kill the sword bearer. After killing the sword bearer, as long as the bridge is fully formed, you can pick up the sword and then head across to the other side. On the other side, you're going to see a blue knight. You then need to proceed to kill them with the sword, but keep in mind that they are very lethal. But one thing that they have historically been subject to is the ability to be blinded. So if you're having an issue with killing this knight, I highly recommend to throw a blinding grenade at them or use a blinding grenade launcher. While they're blinded, they're unable to attack you. It makes it much easier to kill them with the sword. After you've killed them with the sword, you can then assume one of the 3 roles that are on the other side of the bridge. Of course, you have the building the platform role in the middle, and then you have the 2 totems on either side. At this point in time, you're just going to wait for another teammate to cross. They're going to do the same thing by killing a sword bearer, going across the bridge, and then once they get to your side of the bridge, they're going to fulfill one of those those 3 rolls. Make sure to distribute those rolls evenly, and by the time the third person gets across, you'll be able to fully control all the rolls on the upside of the bridge, meaning that the people on the lower level can just focus on grabbing swords and getting across. Currently in Destiny 1, this encounter requires a minimum of 5 people without any cheeses or glitches, and after you've gotten that minimum of 5 or all 6 of your teammates across the bridge, you'll then begin to fight an onslaught of enemies. You'll have a ton of different swords made available for you. Keep in mind though that these enemies are probably going to be extremely powerful. They might very well one-hit kill you with the sword, so again, blinding might be the play here. You might want to have one teammate just running around with like an ignition code doing slide shot blinding, so that way everyone else can clear the knights with the swords. But after you've cleared all of the knights and fought this entire onslaught, you have completed the second encounter. The chest will drop, you'll get some loot. At that point in time, you need to navigate through a narrow corridor, and you want to be especially quick because at the very end of it there's a chest, but the closing door will actually keep you and your teammates away from getting that loot. At this point in time, I would recommend someone having an eager edge sword on, or perhaps even a missile titan so they can fly into that door fast. As long as one of your teammates gets into the door before it closes, it will reopen and give everyone on your fire team the chest. At least in Destiny 1 it did. But keep in mind, as you're trying to run through this, there's going to be cursed thrall and shriekers shooting at you. In this area, you're going to want to clear the ads extremely fast, especially killing those shriekers. That brings down the invisible barrier walls and allows you to navigate through this area extremely fast. After everyone on your fire team has grabbed the chest, you'll then begin to drop down the hole and then go into the Crota's End room. At this point in time, you're only 2 encounters away from completing the raid. And so what you'll need to do when you load into this area, the Death Singer area, you're going to want to send 3 teammates to the left and 3 to the right. You're going to be clearing the ads on both sides. There's going to be shriekers and knights with swords and boomer knights. Clear all of those ads on both sides. Kill the shrieker up there and then kill the wizard that comes through. And then lastly, there will be the Death Singer. In Destiny 1, she really didn't have much health, so it was a pretty easy encounter overall. We melt her pretty fast, collect the loot, and then we move on to the final encounter. And now that we're on to the final encounter, make sure you're subscribed to this channel because I appreciate you watching this video, and I'm going to be bringing you a lot more content in Season 22, just like this video here. The roles that we choose for Crota's End go as follows. You're going to have one person that's going to be the sword bearer. That's the first relic to deal with. The second relic is actually a healing relic that you're going to need because during the presence of Crota, you actually don't heal at all. And so usually we had someone passing this relic around. However, in Destiny 2, we have healing from so many different sources, it may not be necessary, or that relic might be changed by Bungie, so I would definitely be aware of that. The third one was someone that was designated to shoot the Oversoul. So every time you down Crota, an Oversoul spawns in, and usually you have someone with like Celestial Nighthawk shoot it because it does take quite a bit of damage to break this thing. And if you don't break it, it's about a 10-second counter until a wipe. The other roles consist of ad clear and killing the Boomer Knights, so that way the sword bearer doesn't get killed while trying to down Crota. Because what's going to happen is that after the teammate you have that picks up the sword jumps onto the stage, they're going to need to swing that sword at Crota in order to damage them, but they can only do so after you have brought the shield down, which will more than likely consist of 2 to 3 teammates on your team shooting rockets at the boss. The sword bearer will call out 3, 2, 1, fire, and when they say fire, that's when 2 to 3 teammates on your team will shoot rockets at Crota, bringing his shield down. After the shield goes down, he then kneels for about 5 seconds, which is when the sword bearer can pursue their offensive attack. There's various different combinations you can use: light attack, heavy, etc. The most powerful attack, of course, being using a super. The super slam with the sword is the most powerful attack. You're obviously not going to get that back over and over again unless you create some strategies where you can drop multiple orbs near the boss, which is something that we used to utilize back in the D1 days, but I highly doubt we'll be able to pull that off in D2, as orbs are now on a timer, which as previously in Destiny 1, they actually had no timer. So you could pop like 1,000,000 bubbles, make 1,000 orbs on the platform, and let your sword bearer hit Crota with a dozen supers, killing him very easily. After Crota's downed one time, your sword bearer is then going to run away, hopefully invisibly, so that way Crota doesn't come from his kneeling position and slam him. One person will be shooting the Oversoul above, and then you'll have again 2 to 3 more teammates prepared to shoot rockets at Crota again to down him a second time. After he's downed his second time, the sword bearer will grab the sword once again, begin to do their attacks, hopefully dealing a significant amount of damage. The Oversoul shooter will then shoot the second Oversoul, and then your sword bearer needs to hightail it out of there, and you're gonna have to go back to the starting area. Everyone on your fire team is gonna need to pop a heavy synth. Oh wait, you can't do that. Everyone gets back to the starting area, and then you wait out Crota's rotation when he goes from one side to the other, allow him to go back to the middle is the preferred strategy, and then rinse and repeat and do the whole process over again. Clear all the ads, get your sword bearer, the sword, pick up the healing relic, pass that around if anyone needs heals, and do it all over again as many phases as you need until you successfully kill Crota. Bungie might add various different mechanics throughout this raid and various different encounters. In fact, we know that they will due to the challenge mode modifier that will be active during the first 48 hours. On top of that, there might just be added difficulty of Lucent Hive sprinkled here and there. Maybe Boomer Knights are now barrier champions, and various other elements of difficulty could be sprinkled here and there. We don't know exactly what Bungie is going to do with this rework, if it's going to be some crazy comprehensive rework, or if the changes will be subtle. But if we look back to Vault of Glass and King's Fall, all of the visuals stayed the exact same. They just added an extra layer of mechanics to almost all the areas, and fixed some of the strange mechanics that were in King's Fall, especially in the Oryx encounter, making it significantly better overall. I think we can all agree that King's Fall was better in Destiny 2 than it was in Destiny 1, and hopefully Crota's End will be better in Destiny 2 than it was in Destiny 1, if that is the reprise raid coming back. If it's not, then I guess you'll be watching this video in the year 2024, because of course there will be another reprise raid coming out during the calendar year of the final shape. So either this year it's Crota's End and next year it's Wrath of the Machine, or this year it's Wrath of the Machine and next year it's Crota's End. Either way, I'll be bringing you a Wrath of the Machine refresher guide as well, so make sure you're subscribed to this channel with notifications on, smash the like button, and click on the screen here to watch another video from the channel. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.